Today we have an important announcement as well about a strategic fleet for Australia. We know that during COVID it has shown the strength of Australian society, the fact that people have made sacrifices, people are looking after each other, but it's also shown some of the vulnerabilities in our economy, in particular the vulnerabilities in the supply chain. We know that COVID has meant that some of those international linkages have been broken, both in terms of trade, but also obviously in terms of movement of people. And we know that in the future we need to prepare Australia for a future made in Australia, so that we can stand on our own 2 feet, so that we're less vulnerable to shocks in global events. And we know that one of the ways that we can do that is by having the Australian flag on the back of Australian ships with Australian seafarers doing the work. It is a fact that countries such as the United States, in Europe, in Japan and other nations recognise the importance of having a domestic shipping industry, importance for the economy and jobs, but also important for national security reasons. We know that supply chains are vulnerable if we don't have our own capacity, our own economic sovereignty by having an Australian strategic fleet. And a Labor government that I lead will create just that. We'll establish a process with the shipping industry, with business, with unions, to make sure that Australia has a domestic shipping fleet engaged in areas like fuel security, to make sure that we're not vulnerable to international shocks. This is good for the Australian economy, it's good for jobs, and it makes economic sense, as well as is a necessary component of a serious approach to national security. We're an island continent whereby 99% of our trade by value goes by ship. It is a fact, though, that in recent decades what we've seen is a decline in the Australian shipping industry, and that has been something that's been cheered on by the coalition, but it's something that is not in Australia's national interests. The announcement I make today will be important for ensuring our national security interests, our economic interests are looked after into the future.